I don't. Did you? I don't know. Like, she's out there. You're the Florida version of Sex in the City, JD.
That's when I was smoking my cigars.
Don't be an asshole today.
What does it say? I can't see what it says. America. Nice.
Not bad. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, thanks. How are you and how is Bruce doing?
Big boy. He's having a snooze on that chair right now.
Aw, poor thing.
Hi, buddy. He's like, oh, I saw the lights on.
That's how I feel when I don't feel well.
Oh, I feel so bad for him. Like, honestly, when he got home yesterday and they had shaved like the area around where he's been over grooming, and you could see like how big it was. Like you're thinking it's like a spot, and you're like, oh, he's licked it. Now it's like it's to the point of bleeding, and they shaved it all away. The whole thing was like that. It was so raw. So yeah, we have to put like steroid cream on it. Of course, he's gonna be like,
Right, right.
Man. And then one of those dumb collars. So yeah, he was not happy with us at all.
We had a little poodle that used to happen to when we lived in New York, and we didn't bring him down to Florida because we thought with the heat, it happened to him in the summer.
Oh,
so gave
I
him to
always
my
worry about
aunt.
him in the summer, and it seems like my theory is that because the house is all closed up and the heat's on and everything, that because he has like a dust allergy, he's overwhelmed with it. Like it's we don't feel it, we don't get that, but for him,
Right.
I think he might just be a little bit sensitive having everything closed up. So today he was sitting in front of the patio door and I opened it a crack, and like cold air came in, and he was like,
I love that when you texted that to me. I
yeah,
can
he was
picture
just
that.
he was so happy. So just sniffing. But I don't know, maybe the cream is working. Like he doesn't seem as irritated with it.
Yeah, yeah.
He's licking it so obsessively, like maniacally, that you couldn't get him to stop. Like even if you clapped your hands or like pushed his head away from where he was licking, he would go right back to it, and he's been like pulling pieces. So I'm like, oh, man, I hope he doesn't have my anxiety. Is he getting that from me?
So it's probably itchy, right? It's sounding to me like it's an itchy kind of a situation.
You would think like that seems to be what it is, because I think when that spot gets so sore that he can't lick it anymore, he's going for other places, like in a paw or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God. What, the collar thing is not as bad as like those big plastic lampshade looking things.
Yeah, right.
It's bad, but it's like soft. It's like, so it doesn't, and it's not as like doesn't come out as far. So it's like kind of a little bit short.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
And he not only does he not lick, he doesn't move when he's in it. He's just like he just sits there, not sure what he can and can't do, so he's not going to do anything. And he only has to have it on for like a half an hour, 45 minutes after the cream is on. So it's and he won't lick the cream. And then I can take it off. So he doesn't have to have it on all the time, which is good, but twice a day. So I think the first couple of days will be hard, and then the rest will be okay. But the funny thing is when Gemma was explaining, what the vet had said about that, like the first couple of days, it made me think immediately of when I first got diagnosed with diabetes. And like for almost like, I don't even know, I want to say like almost 6 months, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months or whatever, I kept going to the doctor because I had a super like sore throat, and they would put me on antibiotics and nothing would happen. So they would give me another course of antibiotics and it wasn't going away. And now I have a yeast infection on top of that because I've been
Oh,
on
God.
antibiotics. So
Right,
it was
right.
like mind numbing until he finally kind of took all the components of the things that I was complaining about. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm itchy, like I'm itchy, my skin is so dry, I feel like I can't drink enough or whatever. Boom, 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 put all the pieces together. And he's like, I'm going to test you for diabetes. So he did.
Oh,
This is like when I was 30.
oh,
So
wow.
yeah, like later, like really. So he puts me on metformin because like back then that was pretty much the thing, but
Right,
he got
right.
you off on a really high dose of it. And he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, you might have a little bit of stomach trouble, like a little bit. Well, you have
right. I hear that. Yeah.
Jay, when I tell you I almost shit my Jeep on the way home from work one day, like
Oh my
it was
God.
bad, like bad, key in the door, like, oh,
Oh, gee.
like really, really bad. So I had a couple like really bad days like that. And I'm like,
Oh
oh man,
God.
that's what he's gonna be going through. I
Oh God.
feel for him.
And
Like
you'll be going through it because hopefully he'll make the litter box and
yeah,
everything, right?
yeah.
Um,
But yeah, it's like yeah, it's been a lot. Like I feel like, oh my God, like if it's not my mom that I'm constantly worried about, it's him. You know, like I go upstairs like 3 times a day to check on him if he's not down here with me
aw.
because I'm a nervous wreck or I'm gonna catch him licking and there's nothing I can do about it anyways. But
You know, they use that metformin now for weight loss that they give to people if that are not diabetic. And
I don't know how I feel about this. I just tweeted this. Just
yeah,
tweeted
yeah,
this evening because now there's also some other thing like
yes.
overeating or something like that. And a lot
Ozempic.
of celebrities are doing it. And I don't know how I feel
Mhm.
about this. Like, taking it for
Yeah,
weight loss is taking it away from somebody with like type 2 diabetes who may need it.
yes,
You're gonna
I
be
agree.
okay with if you're gonna have, be that vain that you would
Exactly.
take away a medication for someone that has a disease with no cure.
Right. I
You need to
agree.
rethink your values.
Right. And not to mention, like, I think the jury's still out as to what that actually does to you. My sister actually tried the Ozempic and it made her sick to her stomach and she didn't stay on it because it wasn't working. Maybe that's why you lose weight because you're not hungry and you're sick to your stomach. So that's not good either.
It's
So I
true.
don't agree with that.
When I moved over here, I was like 41, 42. I don't even know, but I had been diabetic for like 12 years. And
Yeah.
I was at that point where I couldn't afford my medication. It was so expensive. And I would always, towards the end of the month, run out because
Oh,
it would only give you a 28-day supply. So those few days where there's 30 and 31,
oh yeah, yeah.
I would always run out and you could not, renew with any kind of advance, I'm going to need this next week. So can I do this? Nope. You got to call next week
Right.
when you really need it, that kind of thing. So I
Wow.
kept getting screwed up. So my diabetes was completely uncontrolled. I was ordering meds from like Mumbai or Canada,
No.
to like have to get me through because I wasn't, getting them on
Why
time.
don't they do a 30-day supply or
I have
31
no
day?
idea. I have no idea. So when I moved over here, I had to keep doing that for, I want to say almost a year. And then I was eligible to have a GP here in the neighborhood because I needed to have my marriage visa. I needed to, show papers that I was going to be like indefinite leave to remain, which is the kind of stay I have to be able to live here.
Mhm.
I had to have
Mhm.
all that stuff before I could be accepted at a practice. So I finally
Oh,
get it, and now it's like I get everything for free. I
oh,
can call it in 10 days in advance. I can have it delivered to my home, and I have a dedicated diabetes nurse. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't really have to go see a GP, which means my wait time, I make an appointment to see my nurse. She's never unavailable. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, they're
yeah,
never
yeah.
so full that you have to wait. But if I was trying to get in to see a regular doctor for something, but most of my things are always related to that. So I
Wow,
always make my appointments with her, and we've changed, we've tried different things. And I think it's been about 5 or 6 years now that I've been on Victoza. And that was also, oh, you'll lose a lot of weight on this, or
yeah,
no,
yeah.
no.
Didn't work
You have
that way.
stomach cramps, you shit yourself a little bit in the beginning, you power through.
That's how you lose the
And
weight.
and there's not, yeah. It's so like maybe like 3 or 4 pounds, but it was like no miraculous, like, oh my
Oh
God,
my
look at
God.
you. No.
Yeah, yeah,
So, obviously it's always gonna take work. There's just no magic.
yeah. There's no way
thing.
around it.
No,
No way.
no,
And
just a
and
magic
when you,
thing.
I think when you do the quick fix, it comes back as quick as it comes off. So,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
you
it's just like
don't
those yo-yo
sustain.
things, Adkins and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, how many people I know have had that gastric surgery, whatever, the V, the
And they
sleeve,
gain
this,
it
that, and they were right back where they started, like three
right,
years
and
down the line.
sometimes worse, sometimes
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
I
yeah. The
I
ones that
think
are
the only,
successful, God love. I have one friend that it just so successful, and she's so
Mhm.
healthy, and she
Yep,
looks so
yep,
fantastic.
yeah,
Um, and yet her sister did it, and like you said,
came
twice
back.
as bad, twice as bad.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Isn't that something? I have a friend who's very same thing, very successful. She kept the weight off, and then I know a couple of other people that had it and they got back the weight
yeah,
plus more. And they did the arm surgery to get rid of the extra skin. I mean, what
yeah.
they didn't go through,
Right.
and then to gain it back, like you would think, oh, I'm never going to gain it back. But
Yeah.
I'm going to say the one surefire thing that I know works for everyone, that's an easy 30, 40 pounds, is breaking up with someone, like the heartbreak 40, right?
Complete opposite. Nah, man. I eat my
Heartbreak
feelings, whether
40.
they're good or bad. No, I
I had the
never.
heartbreak 40. But then when you meet somebody new, then you're in that honeymoon stage, and then you start eating together and cooking
Because I mean,
together.
in all honesty, I wish we had Dr. Span on right now. What the fuck else is there to do but to go out to dinner or go to lunch
Right?
or go
That's
to
what
breakfast,
we
or
do.
you're gonna do anything. I mean, it
Right?
usually
Uh-huh.
centers around eating, unless you're going to a show or you got tickets for a concert or something like that, which is so rare because nobody can afford that kind of shit right now. But of course you're gonna, put put the weight on.
Or
I
unless you meet the person that's the hiker and you're a hiker, and or the
It'll
avid
never
runner,
happen. It would never
the
happen.
avid
I swear.
runners and the avid,
I was like,
exercise.
I was watching the L Word and I'm like, no fucking way. Be out in the hike and Runyon Canyon in 90-degree heat. Not never.
Right? Oh my God. So okay, so speaking of the L Word, have you seen it all? Did you see
Yeah,
all
yes.
the
Yeah,
whole thing?
yeah.
And so what were your thoughts on I was going to ask you
I
on the
feel like it was just
finale.
a really dismal, disappointing season. And I will tell you that I was excited for it, like the hype that was around it,
Hmm.
like the Instagram pages with all the notes and wedding question mark and, breakup. And, so
Right?
I was just like, oh, well, look at all this stuff that's going to be. It's going to be an amazing season. And there was so much talk about the diversity in the writer's room and all this.
Yeah.
And I was just, I don't know, I just felt like someone stuck a little pin in and the air just slowly leaked out. And there was nothing
I
exciting at all.
agree.
I mean,
I agree.
the only positive was Rosie O'Donnell. That's it.
Right? Yes. I really I love her character, Carrie.
Yeah.
But I like the way, I think her, and maybe because I related to her with the no shoe household, and she's kind of the neat freak, but and then she's kind of like
Just like
what
very
real.
structured, like, like it seemed like
Yes.
she was a structured character. And I think that more people can relate to somebody like that than living out of a fucking overnight bag like Shane would, like we're not
Completely.
20
And
anymore.
it's
you know?
true. And she's like, she was also more like a real person. Like she had concerns about her body image. And she's like, oh, I don't just have sex with someone until I feel something
Dating,
for
yeah.
them.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a
Dating,
name for it, like, but what,
more like a, yeah, there was a name for that, right?
yeah, yeah.
I
But I
thought
mean,
the
like,
same
that's just
thing.
it. Like, I really felt like, that her character, having the extra weight, having the gray hair, but being smart and,
Right.
being financially savvy and having this nice home and, having
Hmm.
those motherly instincts and, wanting to take care of everyone and everything and being nervous in a relationship and not, being a little
Exactly.
gun shy after
Exactly.
being dumped by Tina. Like, yeah, like
Yes.
I just felt like those were all the things that we can relate to, but I get that we're not the only ones watching it. Like I understand,
Right.
that
Right. Right.
20
Right.
and 30 somethings and the politically
Right.
correct and
True.
diversity and all that kind of stuff is a huge part of our alphabetic community.
Yeah.
LGBTQIA
Any
plus,
letters?
yeah. So I understand that you have to give them things too if you want them to continue to watch. But
Right. Right.
I don't know that it works for me. Like I don't
It,
know. And I was reading comments on one of the socials. I don't know if it was Twitter or maybe Facebook.
mhm.
I'm not sure. But so many people had so much to say about the wedding. Like, we've been waiting 20 years for this wedding and we didn't even get to see them. The
It
whole
was,
episode should have been
yes,
centered on them and it should have been more about the
exactly.
wedding and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know if that would be my biggest complaint about it.
I, I think, like for me, like I think there were too many storylines that
Yeah.
didn't get played out enough.
I feel like
Like you
Angelica's storyline could have just been cut.
could have just been cut, and then you maybe wanted to see a little more of what was happening with Micah and oh,
Yeah.
what's her name? The sister. What's her name? I can't think of her name.
Yeah, I can't
Uh,
find it.
uh,
But I know, yeah,
more of
exactly.
that story, and then like the whole thing of them getting locked in the freezer was kind of stupid. Like, no one does that. Well, I don't
Yeah.
know, like there's two smart women, two
Yeah.
successful
Yeah.
smart women, and
Yes.
then being such a pain in the ass at the end. Tina, like, like I was thinking, why is she even back with her? She looks 20 times better than she does anyway after 20 years. It's like, I don't
No, I mean,
know,
like,
like
I
it
was
wasn't
totally
enough.
fine with them having their happy ending. I just think that's what should have been that whole
Yes,
finale,
I
the
guess
whole
that's
thing.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I
But
didn't, and to to have Tess slip up,
I know.
and have and do that, like, was just it's a tired, played out storyline,
Yeah, it is. It's
because
true.
nowadays people are so sober, that
Yeah,
they're opening
it's
sober
true.
bars. You know,
Right, right.
remember when we had that spirit company on that was like, that has
Yeah,
taken off like crazy. They have
yeah,
sober parties, sober living
yeah,
communities, sober bars, and people are doing so well with it. Like they got
yeah,
their tracker on their phone, their app, telling them how
yeah, yeah,
many days
yeah.
and
I
people are supportive of that. And I just feel like that was bad. Like that was just,
it
it wasn't
it
nothing about
was.
it represented what's going on today.
It did. And I think back to the Bet and Tina thing. I think I would have liked personally to have seen, since people waited all these years for this to happen,
Yeah.
more of what it was like when they got back together. Like they get back together and then they go off and you don't see them for like most of the episodes, and then they come back and they're getting married, and then their kid is in a crisis, but they just go off and still decide to propose to each other and get married, and then get locked in a freezer. Like I think I would have liked more, well, what's their life like now? Like now it's 20 years later. Are they
Yeah.
living together in harmony, or did they pick up where they left off?
Yeah.
Are they,
A lot of unanswered stuff.
like that whole thing would have been nice to see.
I do think like
So
that these new writers know that they are only going to have so much of the OGs.
You're right. You're right.
And they've got to, like you said, there's so many different storylines, and there's so much diversity, and everybody has their thing, their problems. This one's trying to have a kid. This one's trans. This one's
Right, right.
all that kind of stuff it's big and huge, and you can't. I don't think you can satisfy one. The original L Word fan.
Right.
Not going to satisfy
Right.
all of them.
Right.
Just having these
That's the
peppered
bottom line.
moments with the OG people and not showing a whole lot of change in anybody. Like I don't understand how Shane can still be the way she is.
Right.
It's like
Right.
maybe I just kept saying, like, go to sex therapy. Like, say I'm a sex addict. Like, I can't live
Right.
without cheating. I gotta have it when I want it. I need it on speed dial, whatever.
Right.
Nobody has
Right.
that
Right.
mentality anymore. You're not a gay man. Like,
It's
knock it off.
true. That's so true. That
Yeah.
is so true.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And
I said, like, I remember when I was just telling you about my cousin Greg is doing a podcast with George Janko, who's a big YouTube celebrity. He was doing a show with Logan Paul, and now he's not. So his podcast was why George Janko isn't on Impulsive anymore. But my cousin Greg is his co-host, and I would love for them, once they get past the bro talk,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now it's the early stages of bro talk because everybody's nervous and all that, but still getting 1.5 million views. But all right,
Wow. Wow.
I would love to talk to them because they're, LA boys. And I would like to say to them, we have a gripe with LA lesbians because I just feel like they're the only people that can relate to LA lesbians are LA lesbians and the people who want to
Right.
be them, but there's a whole vast group of lesbians or queer women that are not like that at all. And we
Yeah, right.
like,
Most women, most
I feel
are
like
not like
I want to
that.
say to them, like, when you're out and about and you happen to meet somebody and they're introduced or whatever, and you pick up, like, maybe they're a lesbian, and somebody confirms, yeah, they're queer or whatever. Do they look like these L Word people? Are these
You're right.
mythical creatures? I feel like they're mythical creatures. They're not
Right.
real. No one's ever going to
Right.
look like that.
You're absolutely right. You were
So yeah, I would
so
like to have that chat
so
with those
true.
boys. I feel like they're
I'd love to hear
they're
that chat.
connoisseurs of the LA lifestyle. Like, just the stories they were talking about in that
Mhm.
first podcast. I'm like, yeah, yeah. Like, I need to have this conversation with them. I need for them to take it seriously, and then I need to have this conversation with them.
Yeah,
And
I
see where we
agree.
go with
I
that.
totally agree. In fact, I didn't even know there was the difference until we started doing the show and you brought that up to me. And I'm like, you absolutely are. It's absolutely true. And where are these women? And do they really exist? The
They're
mythical
all at the
creatures.
Dyna. They're
All at the
They're all at the Dyna once a year. They all get together and they do their best Shane and Bet at the Dyna, and
and it's a
they get-
club that
they
you're
get
never gonna fit
celebrated.
into. Right.
They just dance around the pool like this
right.
in bikinis and trucker hats and aviators, board shorts.
Right.
It's a
Right.
whole thing. It's a whole thing.
So
In
you
fact, I
pretty
just
much
I had Linda Anderson did a cartoon. Donna and I always had an idea of how it would go if we ever went to the Dyna. For having gone out there once and
Yeah.
feeling extremely out of place for 4 days. Like, it was like everybody was like, oh, where are those big girls from? What are they doing at this Standard Hotel? Oh my God. And Donna's oblivious and she talks to everyone, and I'm like,
Right.
oh God. But we had this vision that we would be so hyped, and we would be on our way to the airport and we'd get on that plane and we'd be like, sunglasses, pens, autograph, like the lesbian lounges in the house. And then we would get there and go, let's go to the pool party. And we would get to the gates and look and be like, oh, these are not our people. And then the next shot would be us flying home. Like that was really bad. So bad.
Split
So,
screen.
yeah.
You at the party, flying
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. I mean, just those 4 days that we were in LA, it was like, we went to the Abbey. It's like, how can you feel out of place at a gay bar? You know, like you're gonna feel okay. No.
No.
In 2 seconds, we spotted Jackie Warner from Bravo TV.
Really? Oh.
Having like a complete coked out argument, messed up with a girlfriend, like, and we were like, oh man, this is God, this is so bad. Like, oh,
I wonder what happened to her. What is she doing these days? I remember her.
I don't know. I remember having her when she was with Brianna. She was with this other little fitness instructor, and Brianna called into the show. And Don and I were like in the middle of eating meatballs from Aunt Joanne, topping it off with M&Ms, and Brianna was trying to talk into a healthy lifestyle. We just fucking hung up on her.
Oh my God.
Like,
sorry, we're eating the meatballs from Aunt Joanne. Oh my
she
God.
said, oh my God, if you cut out carbs and you stop with the sugar and then you just exercise, because cardios, we were like, click, hard pass. Nope,
Okay,
not
that's
happening.
got to be one of the cartoons.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh, I missed
that's
that
another one. That's another one. But it's yeah, it's, you know, I feel like I said, mythical unicorns, and no one can really relate to them except each other.
Yeah, I
You know, like,
agree.
I think in every lesbian community, no matter where you go, you're always going to find those people that want so badly to be like them.
Right,
You know,
right.
they're going to wear
Sure.
the skinny ties, and they're going to have their hair cut like Shane, and they're going to smear that black eyeliner underneath their eyes, and you know, they're going to like really embrace that look, you know, and that lifestyle. And
it's very cliquey. There's a few people. I know a few groups of people like that here. Believe it or not,
yeah.
here.
Oh no, I know.
Even though we're on the West Coast, we're on the East Coast, and it's South Florida. There are people that the people that want to be like that, and they're very cliquey. And I never feel comfortable around them. You know, even though you would think I should feel. Why should I feel differently? Because, you know, we're all in the same group, the same community. You still feel like you're not. I still feel like I'm not part of the cool kids or something. You know, like not part of the group.
It's a dumb thing that we let bother us, but that's what I feel like that's what that culture did. That's what that West Coast culture did, because they got the spotlight. They got the show.
Right.
You know? But if you were to take, you know, that same concept and do it about New Yorkers from Henrietta's, you know, it would be completely different.
Exactly.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
That's why I think like it restored my faith a little bit, like when we would do these festivals, and you know, because you do them too. And then Lori Michaels would show up with the girls, right?
Yeah.
They'd be doing their dance and singing their party songs and wearing their skimpy outfits. But you know what? When they got done, they came right to you. You know, like we've always had such a good time and a good connection, and we've helped each other's out. We've had each other's backs. We've done events together that were good. We've done events together that were bad. You know, iterate on those things, and we've kept in touch all these years later. You know, and we still. You know, like I feel like I could still message her and say, you know, I need your help, and she would be like, I'm there. What do you need? What do you want? You know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you take somebody that is that talented and that good looking, and you go, why can't they all just be like that?
Right.
You know?
Yes.
So I do it's West Coast. It's West Coast.
But I would have so thought, like, because you girls, when you were doing the lesbian lounge, I don't think it's just that I thought it. You guys were like really like doing cool stuff. You were like you were like popular, and like the girls that hosted things. I would think you could have broken through that ceiling and gone to the diner and been the lesbian lounge girls are in the house.
We'll never know, will we? We'll never
I
know if
wanted
he's,
to play.
because I remember when Mariah Hansen was, I think, her mentality felt like, I'm not gonna say is, but her mentality to me always felt like, what can I get from this connection? Right? So she
Oh,
ignored us for as long as she could. And then when we were
mhm,
gaining popularity and we reached out and said, hey, can we get your headliners on our podcast? Here's our numbers. She was,
right,
yeah, and whoever
right.
was headlining would have to call in the show and be a guest. And we would
Yeah,
promote it and promote it and promote it. So finally, we said, well, why, like I finally said, instead of emails, can we just have a conversation about what we can bring to the party? Like here's, we can talk about like what we've done in Key West at Women Fest and all that stuff.
mhm.
And she was like, yeah, sure. So then I was really hyped to have this conversation, So I have this conversation with her and she's like, and I'm telling her like, oh, we come up with the craziest pool games, you know what I mean? Like oily beach balls between the knees, muffins out of your partner's crotch, and backward chicken fights, and and she's like, loving it. This is great, loving it, loving it. Loving it. So I was like, so what can you do for us? Like
Yeah,
we've got a really small budget, and we always end up spending it on merchandise like t-shirts and koozies and stuff like that. So we don't have
yeah.
a lot of travel money or whatever. She was like, well, I don't have any hotels in the area available. They're all booked up. I can't pay for airfare. I could probably set you up like a little table by the pool for you to do your sticky thing or whatever. But we have hosts and we have DJs. And I
Mhm.
got off the phone with, I said, no, we'll pass. Thanks. Because it all felt like
Yeah.
the thought, it felt bad, wrong. I got off the phone with her and I cried for like a half an hour in my car.
Oh,
And then I called Donna and I said, you know what? From this point on, we're just gonna shit all over the Dinah.
ah,
That's it. We're just gonna make
that's
fun of it. We're
so
gonna shit. We're
perfect.
gonna call them out on their
Yeah,
bullshit, their drug use,
yeah.
and their,
You know what?
cooked up parties and their bullshit. And and we did, like we just did. That's all we did from then
I
on.
love it. I love it. But
It's
you know what?
been,
If you were feeling that, you probably were right. That instinct, you would have gone there and not been
and don't get me
feeling it.
wrong, man. I know tons of people that have gone and they were like, no, dude, it's the best time. Like, oh my God, it's so fun. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I think I have too bad of a taste to
Yeah, yeah,
be able to enjoy myself. Like I would have to go into it with a work mentality,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
and think of it as just work and not, like turn yourself on, turn yourself off, turn yourself on, turn
Right,
yourself off.
right.
And
Mhm.
then I don't have any fun, like I
Right, right,
just
right.
don't like, and I always feel like we always say when, whether it's in a band with women or in a group of women or whatever, you're never fully relaxed.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
like there's always a little something going on. Either someone's not supporting someone else or someone's
Right. It's
digging or
always
making fun of or something. And like God knows I'm guilty of that too. But I will tell you this, when we went on the Sweet Cruise, that was probably the best time I ever had, barring the beginning, the bad takeoff. We had a little rocky start. We
yeah,
we went through a
yeah.
hurricane. We literally sailed on a boat through a hurricane. And that was,
Oh, I remember you telling
yeah,
me that
that was really
story.
bad. But the rest of the time, and after everybody's nerves and stomachs calmed down, um, that was where we first got to hang out with Jill Bennett and Suzanne Westenhofer, who was a
Oh
little,
yeah.
who I have to say was a little snotty back then. She's come around quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah. She was a little bit full of herself with every right to be. At that time, she was, you know, she was
Yeah, yeah.
an icon in the
Totally
early making.
mainstream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we just, everybody that we had ever had on the show that we hadn't met, that we had only interviewed on the phone or whatever, was on that boat. And we finally like got to actually like hang out with them.
Yeah, yeah.
It was such a good time. Like that was really a good time. It's a shame that that Shannon's not doing that anymore, and I get why.
Yeah.
But,
I always wanted to play, get on one of those and play on one of those sweet
yeah, well, there's
cruises.
Olivia. You know, you got don't
There's
never.
Olivia, yeah.
Yeah, you're a big dreamer. I'm sure you'll get your gig at Olivia one of these days.
Yes, like, you know me. I reached out to them, but I haven't heard back. I don't know. They have a cruise. I think I have to see when it's coming up because a lot of them are in the leave, like, from Fort Lauderdale because they go to the Bahamas or somewhere in the
Yeah.
Caribbean.
They've been going to really
So-
exotic locations though, haven't they?
Yeah, some of the places are, and I'd love to play on one. So I guess I just have to keep knocking on the door,
Yeah,
but
and they do
um,
a lot of different types of things. Like it's not so much cruises anymore. They're like resort vacations.
yes,
You know, you
yes,
get
some of them are
yourself there,
resort.
but we've taken
Mhm,
over the resort and we'll provide the
mhm.
entertainment and a drinks package and all that kind of stuff and
Yeah,
excursions or whatever. But yeah, maybe the cruise, thing wasn't as lucrative, and people couldn't afford it.
mhm. Yeah,
They
yeah.
were, they were expensive, but I think these resort things like Sandra Valls was talking about, like those are
Yeah,
sweet gigs, those are nice gigs.
she's involved in those, and
Mhm.
then she's playing in the National Women's Music Festival, which
She has
I
an
also
amazing
have.
voice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I also have. Well, she played last year. She's probably playing this year. Not, I think last year. Did they do it? They did. The year before, because of COVID, they didn't do it. But I submitted, but I haven't heard back from them yet. That's not till July. So
Mm,
maybe they didn't make their final cut yet. I think they said February was when they made their final decision. But
that's
you know
good.
me, I keep trying. I
Love it.
keep
I love
just
it.
knocking on the door. And
I love the energy you put forth. The energy you put forth.
oh,
I'm a more like, I'll sit back and wait. You know, you're like,
but you
I'm going after it. I'm going after it. I'm
but you get to
texting this
knock on the
person. I'm
door.
emailing. I'm like, I'll just wait and see what happens. That's what happens. I got like so spoiled. Everything, I do tend to forget how much work it was, having
Yeah,
it was
yeah, it
a lot of
is.
work and it was a lot of spinning wheels and it was hard and groveling and backdoor deals and all
Oh
kinds of
yeah.
stuff like that. And a lot
And
of
the rejection, when you
lot of
have to take the
rejection, a lot of
rejection
rejection. Yeah.
part.
Oh my God. The first 2 years, it was like, holy crap, do we call our moms again? Like
Eh,
we didn't have any guests ever. So
you-
yeah, it was hard, but
yeah,
I always said consistency was the key, and having a good rapport and having good intentions. Our intentions,
yes,
just like what
yeah.
we do here, it's like, I think because I've had so many different projects from articles to columns to books to, podcasts
Mhm.
that I've always needed support. And I
Yeah,
know how that feels. And I know it
yeah.
sucks to ask someone for a favor. It sucks to ask
Oh
somebody.
yeah. Oh, it
It's such
does.
an,
Yeah.
oh man, it's like, I hate it.
Hmm.
But I think because I know that feeling, I want to welcome people to come and talk about the
Yes.
projects
Yeah.
now, and try and get the word out for
Totally.
them. It's
Totally.
the worst. And like I told you, I have a lot of friends on Facebook. Like I'm not a bragger, but I got like 1,300 friends on my Facebook. And of course you only see 20, whatever, but
Right, right, right.
because that's the way it is.
The
But
real people, right?
yeah, but recently I belong to like a neighborhood Facebook group, like for here in my little villagey
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
And someone had posted something a while back, like, hi, I'm new to the area. I'm just getting settled. I'm a lesbian. Does anybody know if there's any other lesbians in the area or is there anything to do? And then all these people started like, hey, hi, yeah, lesbian too, hey, hi. And I'm like, where are they coming from? But anyways, like one of the girls, Suze, she friended me. And so we, kind of been following each other loosely, like on Facebook or whatever. And I had put out a call on my personal Facebook page that said, if
Mhm.
you have an LGBTQI plus queer whatever project, to please get in touch with us. We want to give it a spotlight. We want to shine a spotlight on it.
Yeah.
If you know someone, tag them in this, DM me, it's whatever. And she, kind of like sheepishly sent me a DM and said, I'm in a local production of 9 to 5. Does that count?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sure. Because, like I said to you, there's an interesting conversation to be had when you're an out and
Yes.
proud lesbian and you're working
Mhm.
in the theater where you think you'll be surrounded by queers. She's like, there's one other queer that I work
Really?
with and everybody else is straight. I'm like, well, that's a conversation we need to have. Like, what is it
Yes.
like being out, being proud, following your passion, you love what you do, and yet you got to make it work with the straighties.
Yeah.
Like, how does that work? Is that okay? Are you being accepted?
It's
Do you feel
true.
weird? Yeah, I got a lot of questions. So we'll have her on next week.
I'm looking forward to that. I really am.
Me
There
too.
was a few years ago before COVID, there was a production of a show, very small theater, a local community theater type thing called uh, I'm I think it was called I'm Coming Out, like the song, Diana Ross, I'm Coming Out. And that was actually one of the songs, but it was really a cool premise for a play. And it took place with, I think it was 4 scenes, and each scene was a different decade of women's stories of coming out. And it was like what it was like in the 20s, what it was like. I think it might have started, it was the 80s, the 90s, the 80s, went back, maybe started with the 50s. So it was like from the 50s, what it was like to come out, in the 60s, what
Yeah,
it was
that's a
like.
really cool
And
concept.
and
Yeah.
it was a cool idea. And they had the different music, in each scene. It was like the skits of these like 4 or 5 decades of what it was like. And I thought that was a great premise
Like
for the
I saw
show.
that as you're describing it, I'm like, wow, that sounds so. Was that at Broward Center?
It was, no, it was small. It was in a little theater that was across the street from I don't even know if it was quite a theater. It was like a community center that was
Okay.
across the street. I couldn't even tell you what street it was, but it was across the street from the mental hospital facility of like Jackson Memorial Hospital. One of those big
Wow,
hospitals
yeah,
had
okay.
a separate annex and they were all, people were sitting outside, and I was so nervous to go back to my car to put money in the meter. So I'm out there looking over my shoulder, trying to put the money through
Funny.
on my card so I could just add the money from my
Yeah.
phone and not go back out there until everyone was out there when the show was over.
Right.
But I thought it was a shame it was in that neighborhood because it was a little bit scary to go to, but
Yeah.
people enjoyed it. And I really wish they could have like taken off with that, because I think it
Yeah.
was a great concept.
It sounds
And
great. A nice mix of music and history.
yes, it was all of those things. And I went there by myself. I was going through my
Right.
heartbreak period, and I was said, I'm just going out by myself tonight. It's a Saturday night. What's happening? I saw this play was happening, and I went alone, and
And
thought
it was
maybe
in
I'll meet some.
Miami. It was in Miami.
It was like North Miami, yeah. And I thought
Still,
maybe
oh my
I'll meet.
God, that you're so brave. Like that's such a
I was
deterrent.
brave, right?
Yeah. Like, oh, is
And I-
it it's south of Plantation? Not doing it.
And then this is me being the dreamer I am. And maybe I'll meet someone there. I'll probably sit next to the next soulmate of my life just because
Oh God,
that's the way
I
it's gonna
love where your
happen.
head's at all the time.
So
I
I go
love
there.
it.
There was no one I knew. No one talked to
I'm in
me. I sat by
Miami.
I'm in Miami. I sat by myself. I'm hoping not to get killed by a psychiatric patient
Funny.
across the street,
Oh,
watching me get out of my car alone.
there's, it's funny because like when I in the 90s, I worked for Opus Theater for like, I don't even know, like 5 years, 6 years, like every year, a whole season of shows, I was either stage managing or stepping
Oh,
in
wow.
for somebody or understudying, or
Yeah.
like I was everything and then in the community theater months in the summer, when the theater was dark, the guy, he was such a cool old guy, man. He looked like Santa Claus, except he had like really thick gray hair, but a beard, like, total hippie. always in shorts and flip-flops, always sitting up in the rafters getting stoned. He was in his 70s. But he was really like like he knew what he wanted.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah.
really he would pick the plays with like real thought involved, and how he knew his audience too were always going to be like the Jews, that needed a night out. So he would invite the reporters from the Jewish newspapers and on opening night, and shit like that. But in my book, a lot of that theater experience is what I used in my stories, because I was like
Yeah.
so familiar with it, and it was such a good time. And I never was able to really capitalize on like the queer thing, because I didn't even, I was kind of had like one toe in the pool. I was like, oh, maybe I'm
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I don't know, I don't know. And then I got married to Chuck, and he loved it. Like,
Oh.
he would supply the paint. He would help. He would, come to every show. Like, he was so into it. He loved it. But I couldn't, as my position at my day job was getting bigger and more
Mhm.
demanding, like I just couldn't do it. But it was the best time. Like, I can walk into a theater and get that same feeling just walking in a theater.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Like,
that's
oh
it.
my
Yes,
God.
it's a special. I love the theater. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. I think, when you've worked in it, when you've been backstage and you see sometimes the utter chaos that happens, like
Oh,
people growing up
yeah.
before they have to go on, and
Oh,
someone
God.
sewing their costume, and
Somebody's costume rips or something.
yeah, I mean, it's like, oh God, the shit that went on. And especially when, like, for me, I was like, why are we overthinking this? The people are like 80 that are in the audience, but they were so into it. They were so involved. We did a production of Camelot, which
Oh,
was big. It was the big
that's a
ending.
lot of
Yeah,
scenery, I bet.
big. Oh man. And at the very end of Act 1, when Arthur is standing there and he's giving this big speech because he knows that Guinevere is having an affair with Lancelot, and he's really tormented about it, and it's a big moment. It's him, one spotlight, the curtain,
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
and the scenery has to roll behind him.
Mhm. Oh, did they forget to close the curtain?
Well, there was a lot going on, and then he also has to knight Lancelot, and then Guinevere does a bow, right? So these
Yeah.
costumes they got from like Delphine's in Fort Lauderdale, like they went all out. They were big, heavy, period proper,
Mhm, mhm.
costumes. So during the day, they still had children's theater. So there was like shitty kids' toys and shit in the wings and everything. And so when Guinevere came out, a tiny kid shoe got stuck under her big heavy gown. So she kneels before him and it's all quiet. And then she gets up and she walks away. But the shoe
Oh, no.
is right on center stage in the spotlight.
Oh, God.
Arthur was making this big speech, and then of course it goes dark and the curtains come down, and that's the end of Act 1. Now I'm the stage manager. I got to go out there and get the fucking
Get
shoe,
the shoe.
right? And as I get it, this little old man comes up to me and he goes, excuse me. I'm like, yeah. He goes, what is the significance of the shoe? What?
Oh, my God. You could have told, did you save it by coming up with some deep meaning for the shoe being there?
Nothing. It's a mistake. Like, what?
I would have been like, oh, it means that she's moving on. She's walking
Symbolic.
forward.
Yeah, he's
Walk a mile in her
oh
shoe.
man, yeah. We had like more things go wrong. I mean, but it was always such a good time. It was always like a laugh. Like it was, I don't know.
love
I never took it so serious, but I know that the audience always did, apparently.
Well, speaking of theater, we are seeing a group of girls, of us women are going on Sunday to see Tina, the musical about Tina
Ooh.
Turner's life.
Remember when we had Deb Barsha on?
Yeah,
That was
Yep.
one of her first, she did the music, she was
Oh,
the
right.
musical director.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're gonna
that's
have,
fantastic.
yeah, we're gonna go see it at the Broward Center.
That'll be
So,
fantastic. Seriously, that's
looking
another one of
so
those nights.
forward to that.
Like we were talking about Barry Manilow, and how my first Barry Manilow concert, 'cause I have been to more than one.
You're a
The
fan of
first-
those, for
I just
sure.
like I remember like Chuck bought the tickets for me because he knew I liked Barry Manilow, and we had just been to a wedding a couple of years before, and my friend Debbie got married. Crazy Debbie from Bianca's Kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she gets married, and her and Michael's song was a Barry Manilow song, and
Oh,
yeah, it was
oh,
really cute. And so Chuck, I think, always remembered that because I was always like, "Oh my God, I love Barry Manilow."
mm,
And so he bought tickets, and we went. We don't know. I don't think we really knew what to expect, and yet we walked out of there. So I remember him saying, "I feel so happy."
yeah.
Like I was like, That's good because the last concert we went to was like Frankie May and Gladys Knight and the Pips, and we were the only white people in there. I didn't left feeling happy. I left feeling like I didn't even know why we were there. But yeah, when we left the Barry Manilow concert, it was this, you just felt like joy because you
You
knew all
do.
the
He has
songs.
the way.
He
Yep.
has a way. He's such a showman, and like that it's all rehearsed to the T, and
Exactly.
he's
Exactly.
done this like 100,000 times, but it always feels like it's the first time, and I think that's part of
Mhm.
a really good showman. He's so fantastic. And I
Yeah.
just feel like that when I went to see Diana Ross, I saw her so many times. And again, Sunrise Musical Theater in the round,
Mhm.
no bad seats,
Yes. No bad seats.
and
Yeah.
every song, every word, every song. You
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
leave there feeling really, really good. And I think that the same thing with Tina Turner. You could go to a Tina concert or
Yeah.
like,
The
did you see
movie or
Jersey
the
Boys?
life.
You went to see, I'm sure you saw Jersey Boys, right?
I did not, believe it or not.
I do not. I do not. What?
Joni saw it a couple of times. She took my sister Nancy, who loved Jersey Boys. She wanted me to see the movie. I never even saw the movie, believe it or
Oh,
not. I'm not a big, I love Frankie Valli's music, but I'm not a big Frankie Valli like fan, but
I was not either. Like I liked the music, but my jaw hung open, when I watched the story of how
mhm.
it came about, and all the bad things that happened along the way.
Yeah,
So
all the
managed to put out
people.
music.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I think you're gonna probably find that in the Tina Turner thing
Oh,
too.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I was surprised. Carole King's story, beautiful. I saw that twice at Broward Center.
I just
Many
saw they're
few
making that
years in
movie.
between.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That was like, I had no idea she had so much like turmoil in her marriage and what happened and then the iconic picture from Tapestry where she's sitting in the windowsill with the cat. They referenced that in the movie where she moves to the city and she's like, moves from the city to I guess Connecticut or wherever they moved to the country where they had this house. And she said, "Oh, there's a beautiful window seat, bay window, and oh, the girls want a cat." It was like she talked about that in the show, and then that was that picture. Then that was in the album cover, that
Album
famous
cover.
album cover.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
when I was little, that was one of my favorite albums. Like I played it. You remember you had
Oh
the
yeah.
big can headphones with the curly cable, right? Right. And I would sit there cross-legged reading that album and listening to it.
Right. The
So
liner
much that
notes.
like I wore it out. Like my parents
I
had to get
remember.
another album. I wore the shit out of
Wow.
it. Yeah.
I remember my sister had it, but I didn't realize she wrote so many of those other songs earlier in her career for other people. Like she was really a songwriter first for many,
Yeah.
many, many
Yeah. Same
years.
with Barry Manilow. Like when he tells the
Yeah.
stories and he does the
Yeah.
jingles and all that. Like I don't.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like you're just like, damn, man. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like, wow. Yeah, I didn't realize. And she when she did Tapestry, did you see the movie? Did you see
No,
did you see
no,
the play? when she
I
finally,
wanted to see the play, but
yeah,
I didn't. This is gonna
I
sound
wonder
bad,
who's,
but I didn't trust it here in London.
yeah.
Like I thought, if I don't see this in New York, then I'll wait for the movie.
I wonder who will play her, because
I know,
when
I don't
she
know.
decided to do Tapestry, she up until that point had not done any of her own music. And she said, what I want, she had gotten, divorced, and she was not in a great place. And then she's like, like so many times art is born from pain. And she's like, I want to do everybody was telling her, why don't you sing your
Yeah,
songs?
yeah,
And then she went to the country and wrote that album. And then and it became this big, huge hit. She did not expect that. That was really just something she did cathartically,
yeah.
and, didn't expect to have that happen. And that's what she's known for now. I mean, it's just funny. So many years later, I never knew. It's one song after another. I'm like, she wrote Up on the Roof.
Yeah,
Never knew she wrote that song. Like, it's
I
just
didn't.
crazy.
The Gilmore Girls song, like she sang,
Yeah.
like the opening theme to the Gilmore Girls is like it's just,
Ah,
oh my God, that's Carole King, and she's in it. Like I love that
yeah.
she plays the record
Oh,
store owner in it, so that's cool.
I
But
didn't know that. I didn't watch that.
yes, yeah, no, I do, I really, really, really love her. But it does seem like a lot of strife and chaos and pain and everything out. Like there's a channel over here called Sky Arts, and
Hmm.
um every once in a while there'll be like a really good series. Like there was one called Music Icons or Album Icons or something, iconic albums, something like that. But it would take you in the studio with the artist, and they would talk about every song on that
Hmm.
album. Like I watched the one with Meatloaf. I watched one with Mick Fleetwood. I
Oh,
and they really get into like what, like they move the things and show how like maybe it sounded at first before they decided to do this and that, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
changing the songs and everything. And it was really, really good. Like it gives you like a lot of insight. But yeah, you never really hear anybody say, God, it was just peaceful out there in the studio.
You don't. That is true.
Peaceful.
That
We
is,
ordered food in, we had
and
blankets.
it was so much fun, and we had such a great.
A
You're right. There's always some story of catastrophe or something went
little
wrong,
bit of a
and
head
yeah.
butting and contempt, and yeah, like I was watching the Janet Jackson documentary, and her and like Babyface and L.A. Reid, like they all came to blows like over a lot of stuff when
Hmm.
they were producing. I don't think it was Rhythm Nation. I think it was the next one, whatever the next one was.
Hmm.
But yeah, like you just I don't know. It's like sometimes I don't really want to hear that. I just
You
want it
don't.
to be a
You
pleasant
don't.
experience.
But I
Sounds
can tell you, it happens on this level, on this low level of the food chain of the music business. It
but let me ask
happens
you this.
all the
Does
time.
it happen because you feel like it's supposed to happen? Or is there a legitimate reason? Like, do
Oh
you go
no.
in like ready to say, like, I'm gonna have to fight to get my opinion to be heard? Like if this is mine,
Yeah.
I want it done a certain way. Like, do you go in with that mindset, or do you go, let's see how this goes? And
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's a little of both. It depends on who I'm working with and where I am.
oh,
Like,
that's true. Yeah,
being the dreamer I am, I do expect it to go, this is going to be great. This is going to be fun.
of course,
Uh,
of
but
course you do.
of course, listen who you're talking to. However, it depends, because going, like when I would go to Nashville, and I did a lot of all of my recording in Nashville. I am, the earlier albums, I would be so excited to go. And then when you get there, it's almost like it's daunting of how everyone is going for the same brass ring, and there's only a few of them, so every waiter, every bartender, every person working in service there
That's
is
how
a musician.
California was. I
Yeah,
would
with the
say
acting,
Atlanta, like every
probably.
single person we've spoken to, nobody goes,
Yeah.
I work in a bank.
Right? No,
Nobody,
nobody goes,
like, no,
right?
everybody's in the business.
Or you're trying,
Yeah,
right? So
or yeah,
all of a sudden you feel like this tiny, and like there's all of these people going for the same thing. And then one night we were watching the Country Music Awards because I happened to be there during that time, and we were in BB King's restaurant downtown on the river, downtown on Broadway in Nashville, and they weren't that far away at the Grand Ole Opry or doing this, and the new one, not the old one, not the Ryman.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it might as well be on the moon. It's so far to get to where they are, even though here we are a few miles away. Might as well be trying to get to the moon to get on that stage. But but that's the part about going there and having it be kind of daunting and feeling super tiny. So you have to get past that. That's like me, because I remember when we were checking in the hotel, our bellman said, "Oh, you should come downtown and see me tonight. I'm playing in, honky tonks." And I'm like, "Oh, well, we'll go check it out. We're going downtown." He was so good. He was like George Strait reincarnate. And I'm like,
man, and here he is, Bellman.
My Bellman, that's my Bellman. But he could be George Strait, not reincarnate because he's still alive, but like cloned. And he's the Bellman. So it's like, it could be very diminishing, but then at the same time, it's exciting because you feel that excitement. So you go into the studio and you want to have all great stuff happen. So you try not to put, I think for so many years, I put as surprising as this might be, the reality of what the business is and the chances of actually making it. You just put that so far out of your mind that you walk in that studio thinking you're making the next Grammy, the next big Grammy winner, even if you really stop to think about the truth of the matter, the chances, or you might as well get a lottery ticket and that's better odds of going down to the 7-Eleven, but you do it because it's a passion. And on a local level, now just to be saying, I'm getting ready to play a show, I'm getting ready to play a festival, that's always so hard, especially in Florida, because we don't have enough committed musicians that are good and committed to their craft down here. People are, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of hacks. There's so many hacks and they think they're good. And they don't listen to the material and they don't learn what they have to do. I went through that when I did my show for the Arts Garage. That was so super important to me.
I felt so bad for you.
It always takes me having a freaking meltdown and down to the wire before anyone listens to me to listen to the music. And it just happened again. I won't name names, but the bass player and the drummer, two rehearsals we only had a chance to have. They had the music for the 4 weeks. They had the set list, the song list, the music. And when we get to the rehearsal, the bass player asks me if Poor Me, which is a Trick Pony cover song, was one of my originals. And I'm like, have you listened to these songs? Because if you listen to the song, it's not my original. It's not me singing. It's a famous, I wish it was mine, but it's not. But it was just crazy. And clearly a half an hour through that rehearsal, I knew I was in trouble. And I had to just quickly the next day, thank God I was able to get 2 guys I've worked with for years, Randy Ridenauer, Keith's brother. He's an amazing drummer, and Joey Ojeda. They were in my band years ago. I called them up. By the grace of God, they were free and available. So to answer your question is, I think those things really, truly just always happen, no matter what level of the food chain you're on in the business. It's people, it's egos, it's personalities.
It's a lot, all stuffed into a little room, isn't it?
Everything. Everything. And it's because it's your passion, as you probably saw with all the people in the theater, people they have definite opinions and kind of egos and what's the other word I'm looking for? But like that, like egos, and they have certain things they want to be
they
their
get a
way.
little I think theater people feel like there's this entitlement, if they've done more, this leading guy has done more theater work than this leading girl. I'll never forget, we did a musical called Bells Are Ringing, and I still love, it was a movie with Holiday and I think Dean Martin was in it. But I just loved every single song in this musical. And the woman that was playing was an accountant, and she just happened to be a really good singer. And her friend was in the chorus or whatever, and made her audition, and she got the part. So there was a little work that had to be done, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the guy that was the lead, of course, he had done a million productions, and he was so awful to this poor woman, you know. Like
Oh
I was
God,
like,
yeah,
oh God, this is gonna suck, you know. But man, like we pulled it off. But I saw it really clearly that there was,
yeah.
you know, there was definitely a power dynamic to
Hmm.
fund the most productions, you know. So yeah, it was
Definitely.
hard to see when you're like the stage manager. You really can't say anything. I see you, buddy.
There's a pecking order for sure, and
Yeah,
people
yeah, it's the worst.
saying that.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
You know, I think like when you get involved in a project, if everybody's kind of like on the same level, you're gonna more is gonna happen. You
Hmm.
know, like more like that. This is, you know, there's like I love working with Linda Anderson on these cartoon things because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
questions she can answer them just like that. You know,
yeah, yeah.
can you do this, can you do that? Can you? She was like, well, I can, but here's how long it's gonna take, and this is
Right.
gonna go into it. But if we did it this way, I can
Yeah.
get it out quicker, and you know, so it's great having someone that knows, you know, like for me, I can just verbalize what I want. So I'm like the
Hmm.
creative, and she can say, yeah, we can make that happen. You know, it's a really, really good feeling. Like I like that kind of energy going into something.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
love the way
But I
the little
remember having that conversation with you in October where you said, I'm just gonna do solo stuff from now on.
Oh God. And here I am again telling you what's happening with this. Because sometimes you want to do a festival, you want to do that. You know, my problem is I don't work those enough to keep the same people together and the same band. But now Pride Fest, I'm happy to do it with a band because I love doing things like that with a band instead of solo. Because you get up there, just you and your guitar, and you're just getting on after, you know, a drag queen sang with tracks, and it's a big
Yeah.
sound or a
Yeah, I think
band
you need to
sound.
command more attention with a band, don't you?
You do, yeah. But I said, but I am going to do more. I am going to focus more on solo so I could travel, so I
Yeah.
could go somewhere and play there and just play solo and not have to worry about other people. Because it was just really, really difficult. It was a difficult, and it could have been better. That's the thing. You try to be a perfectionist and you can't really, and everybody's got iPhones now, or phones, I should say. They're not all iPhones, but that they're recording with. So it's not like it used to be. If you didn't hit a note or something, it was gone. It was
Yeah.
happened and it was
Yeah.
gone.
Now it
Now it's
lives
like
in
everybody's
infamy,
recording
right?
it. So, you know, there's that too. And so there's a lot more pressure, but I'm probably still going to always do both. But I just think that I'm going to I even like, I enjoy doing the Women on the Net thing on Friday, last Friday. I did a Women on the Net, was like a half an, it was like maybe like 40 minutes of music and then 20 minutes of a Q&A. That was so much fun. I met,
Yeah.
there were women from everywhere. Someone was from DC, someone was from Hudson Valley, New York, someone was from LA. Like there were, and there were like 3 pages, so to speak, like to scroll, of women that showed up for this in the queue. And it was really nice in the gallery, you know, like I pressed gallery, I was able to see everyone because it's through Zoom.
Right.
And it was fun. That was fun too, being in my living room doing it. So I think as long as you're reaching people in some way,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
fun, you know.
Yeah,
But
that's what it is. Like I always have to remind myself, like I was just doing it today, like to not worry about numbers, you know. And
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I will
it's hard not to.
post those couple of cartoons about the the trouble I got into at work. And it was like it's a 3-parter, you know, like you can't just hear the first story.
Right.
You
I
gotta
saw
listen
that.
to all, yeah, to all of them. But I kept going to the numbers to see like were they getting even numbers or the same people that were,
Yeah.
you know, no, you know,
Yeah, because
no.
they're not getting it. They have to keep listening. I saw you putting, you have to listen. I saw you put that
Yeah,
to all
yeah.
3.
But yeah, so the first one and the third one got like thousands, you know, and
Yeah, yeah.
the second one got like hundreds. And I'm like, how is this making sense? So whatever.
I love the way the mouths move on the little cartoons it's just so cute. Like, you
We love
guys
the
are,
different thing. We don't have any say in what Linda puts on the desk in front of us.
yeah.
So
I have to notice that. Are there different things on the desk? Oh,
food,
I
drink,
really.
sex toys sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it'll like be like, oh, those
Oh my
anal beads. I know
God,
we're
that is
talking about
so
anal beads, but
cute.
she really put a box with anal beads on the desk.
Oh, I love that.
So
She's
funny.
got to put the thing with the time when you guys had the poise pad with the ice cube and you were the whole I was on the show. I was in the studio that time. And
Oh
to
yeah,
see
yeah.
which ones like held by the end of the
Of the
show,
most.
which
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah. Yeah, because we need to know those things because we would go through. I couldn't believe we never got a brand, like a promotion and things like that. Because we talked about pissing ourselves so much and like being padded up. Like we would show up and like when we would go to these things, we would show up and we would literally have like a huge package of poise pads and a rolly suitcase. And Deb would have the merchandise, she'd be carrying the big boxes of merchandise, but we would have
Oh
our
my
pads
God.
and our rolly suitcase. But yeah,
Oh, you got to tell her she's got to do that on one of the shows and see who notices.
oh man, if I could find the show, the audio,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
would be
like when you do the math, we were doing shows for, and I've really focused from 2007 to 2009, but we did a show every week of the year, so that's, for those 3 years,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking about like 156 shows that I have to go through,
Wow. Is
like,
that all it was? 3 years that you did the show? It
no,
seemed
no,
like it was.
no, for these cartoons,
Oh,
for the audio,
okay. But you
because the
did the
audio
show.
was so good when we were in the studio and we had the
Oh,
big
yeah,
microphones,
yeah.
the audio is really good. And then when I moved, so like 2010, 2011 is when the audio got really, really bad. It's really hard to use,
Yeah,
like that
I
stuff
see.
because our timing was off too. But yeah, so I'm trying to focus on like our highlight years, like 2007, 2008, 2009, and pick some
Yeah.
really funny bits. But yeah, even some of the stuff from 2006, because that was, well, no, it was actually 2007. 2006 was our first ever Girls at Gay Day.
Oh, oh.
Yeah. And I think, that was like between, like I said, 2006, 7, 8, 9. Those were like, we were working constantly. Like not only were we
Yeah.
doing podcasts, but we were doing Women Fest every year, Pride festivals. We were doing Space Coast Pride, Daytona Pride.
Mhm, mhm.
Like it was just a lot of stuff. So every time we would get back into the studio after an event, we would have so much to talk about.
Right.
Those were
Yeah.
like the funny shit because then we would like the people that we had met, we would say like call in Wednesday night, here's the number.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
People, but yeah, like I feel like we should do a little of that same thing at Palm Beach Pride.
Yeah, we should.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't talk to him yet this week. It's Wednesday. Maybe tomorrow I'll give him a call because he had meetings and stuff to find out about us doing this, at Pride. That would
Yeah,
be
I think
great.
we should
Totally do it.
we should get some Zoom footage. We should
Yeah,
get people like on there.
we
Yeah,
should. Yeah,
we
definitely.
should line up guests, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll get on that. I'll talk to him. He didn't have a whole lot of details because he didn't have them yet. They hadn't
only
had to meet
detail he
him.
needs to know is whether we have Wi-Fi.
Yes, we need that detail, right?
All right, listen, I'm gonna let you go because I think my boy needs some food. You
Okay.
hear him meowing there in the hallway,
Aw.
sitting there looking at me like, I don't normally have to put on this much of a show to get food. He just
Well,
has
he's
to go.
feeling better. That's good. Maybe he's feeling
Yeah,
better.
he definitely is because
So.
there's a day or two where he didn't eat anything and it was making me nervous. But
Oh,
yeah, he's back. And it's like, it didn't dawn on me too. He's been on steroids for 2 years.
oh,
And so successfully weaned him off the steroid because we didn't
Wow.
know that it was doing anything.
Mhm.
But the way he's been not being on anything,
Yeah,
makes me think maybe the steroid was helping a little bit, because
right. You think it's not. Yeah.
right, because he was still licking. It just he was obsessive, these past 2, 3 days that
Aw.
he's not been on anything. But the cream is really helping. And when he starts his new stuff, hopefully he'll be good as new. And the weather,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna start opening windows as soon as it
Aw.
gets in that, that zone where let's air the house out, let's
Yeah.
let the
Yeah.
winter sink out, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my goal. Those are my goals. All
Good
right, listen,
goal.
give my love to everybody over there, and I
Will
will
do.
see you next week.
All right. Next week we have our guests, and
Yeah, we have a local lesbian that's gonna be in the
I'm looking forward to
production of
that.
9 to 5 right here in Surrey.
Yes. All right. I'll see you
Excellent.
next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Why do you always run back to the lover you once knew? You're addicted to her touch.
Like never stop chasing your dreams.
And I confess,
See?
my addiction
See?
is you.
We drank way too
Don't
much
ask me
whiskey.
why I'm here tonight. I had to take this midnight drive to find you. And as I come in through the door, I see her dancing on the floor beside you. Why do you always run back to the lover you once knew? You're addicted to her touch, that's true. And I confess, my addiction is you. You look at me and in my eyes you see the hurt I can't disguise. I want you. And though it seems I look right through, I'm noticing your every move. She's got you. Why do you always run back to the lover you once knew? You're addicted to her touch, that's true. And I confess, my addiction is you. You're my addiction. Why do you always run back to the lover you once knew? You're addicted to her touch, that's true. And I confess, my addiction is you. I turn away to mask the pain, but jealousy reveals my rage and madness. And knowing you can read my mind consumes me in a shameful kind of sadness. Why do you always run back to the lover you once knew? You're addicted to her touch, that's true. And I confess, my addiction is you. You are my drug, my ever waking need. I got you in my blood. You've got me on my knees. Why do you always run back to the lover you once knew? You're addicted to her touch, that's true.